University of New Hampshire book on mosquitoes and black flies, category F2. At this point, 43 species of mosquitoes are known to occur in Maine. Of those, 28 species are known to feed on humans, and only 14 are known to be pests. Fortunately, only the female mosquito bites. Let's look at mosquito habitats and life cycles. All mosquitoes require a source of standing water for development. The largest number of widely distributed biting species live in the temporary pools or ponds formed by melting snow in the spring. These mosquitoes belong to the genus Aedes, and 7 of our most annoying species live there. The other annoying species live in fresh water swamps, the Anopheles, ponds, Mansonia, natural or artificial containers such as tree holes, rock holes, tires, swimming, wading pools, etc. Let's look at mosquitoes' habitats and life cycles too. Aedes culex are in brackish water marshes such as salt marshes, Aedes, and in grassy ditches and culverts, Aedes and Anopheles. Eggs of mosquitoes are deposited by females on the surface of water singly or in groups on soil where flooding will produce pools or ponds. The larvae hatch and feed on microorganisms in the water. They are often called wrigglers because of their thrashing motion in the water. The larvae obtain oxygen through a breathing tube or siphon at the water surface. Let's look at mosquito habitats and life cycles 3. Mosquito larvae, when fully grown, transform into the pupa, sometimes called a tumbler. Adults will emerge in 4 to 7 days. After mating, females seek a blood meal from a suitable host. The blood is used to produce eggs for the next generation. Let's look at mosquitoes' life cycles again. Mosquitoes in Maine have 3 main types of life cycles. Most mosquitoes overwinter in the egg stage, which is resistant to low temperature. Eggs hatch when habitats are flooded in the spring. The larvae develop in large pools and adults emerge in 2 to 6 weeks. Most species only have 1 generation per year. Eggs remain in the soil until pools are again flooded by snowmelt in the following year. Looking further into mosquito life cycles, the Aedes mosquitoes, which are salt marsh mosquitoes, live in habitats that are flooded throughout the year and can have several generations. In some species, the adult female mosquito is the overwintering stage. This occurs in culex and Anopheles. The overwintering adult usually becomes active in the spring. After several generations in this species, the last generation of females will seek a blood meal and find a place to overwinter. Anopheles seem to be the most annoying on warm September evenings. Looking further into mosquito life cycles, we have the Mansonia, which do overwinter in the larval stage below or inner ice. Peak annoyance to humans on these begin in May and extends into June. During hot, dry summers, mosquito populations will decline quickly in July. Numbers generally will decline by September anyway. Salt marsh breeding mosquitoes begin hatching in late May and even early as April. Let's do a little introduction to mosquito control. Mosquito control can be grouped under chemical control, biological control, and source reduction. The first 2 methods rely on reducing numbers in the larval and adult stages. Source reduction relies eliminating habitats where mosquitoes breed by filling, flooding, or draining areas where standing water has accumulated. Looking further into chemical control of mosquitoes, chemical control is the most commonly used type of control. The advantage is that using chemical control, populations can be reduced quickly.
What chemicals are used to control mosquitoes?
The advantage, this is especially where mosquito-borne disease is present. The drawback is the control is temporary and must be repeated yearly. Also, the overuse of pesticides can affect non-target organisms and lead to resistance in the mosquito population. Our next slide of chemical control. The most recent development in the control of mosquitoes and black flies has been the development of the microbial pathogen Bacillus thuringiensis, a selective control agent. This protein disrupts the cell membranes by producing a crystalline protein as a byproduct of spore formation. This process is highly effective, affecting only mosquito larvae, black fly larvae, and a group of filter-feeding mosquitoes. Our next type of mosquito control is source reduction. Source reduction has been used as a major method for permanent reduction of mosquito problems. This has been accomplished by dredging, filling, ditching, or folding of mosquito habitats. The principal advantage of this method is the permanent elimination of mosquito annoyance. This method may require substantial amounts of engineering, expertise, and money to accomplish source reduction in a large area. Mosquito control strategies. There are three possible approaches to controlling mosquitoes in Maine. Source management, which is the best solution, larvaciding, the next best solution, and adulticiding, which is the least effective option. Again, looking at source reduction, this can be done on private property by the homeowner. This is particularly important when dealing with the Aedes triseriatus, container braiding mosquitoes, if you will, or when there are low areas of standing water that are conducive to breeding. In these cases, water from containers can be eliminated, ditches or depressions can be drained. Let's look at larvaciding. If you have extensive mosquito breeding areas on your property that are not amenable to source reduction, larvaciding may be a way to reduce the number of mosquitoes biting you. Two important considerations in larvaciding are the species, the ones that bite humans or pets. The second consideration is the timing of larvicidal applications. In larvaciding, we want to look at when we want to minimize pesticide use. Larvicide should only be used when hatching of mosquito eggs are completed, since eggs will not be killed and larvae that hatch subsequent to treatment will not be affected. If the mosquito has more than one generation, breeding should be monitored to determine when the larvicide is to be applied. Larvicide should be applied before pupation, since pupae are often not sensitive to larvicides. Let's look at area control. Area control is more effective in reducing mosquito populations than individual efforts, which would be local control. A manager of skill is required to accomplish the many tasks that are required to obtain maximum control at minimum expense, including training of personnel, purchase and use of equipment and materials, survey, mapping and surveillance of mosquito breeding areas, coordination of larvaciding and adulticiding operations, and the use of source reduction techniques. When dealing with area control, let's look at source reduction. This method in a wide area mosquito control operations usually requires substantial engineering input and planning, as well as the approval from various state agencies before habitats can be filled. When dealing with area control, larvaciding, the key to any successful area-wide control operation is a comprehensive survey of mosquitoes and breeding sites. This activity should be supervised and conducted by professional personnel trained to collect, process, and identify mosquitoes and their breeding sites. Light trap surveys can also be used to determine mosquito abundance in a given area, coupled with biting counts. At this point, larval surveys will indicate when biting species are present and most abundant, and control measures can be directed at these sites at the proper time. Looking further into area control, an effective area-wide adulticiding program should be used when source reduction and larvaciding are not feasible or cannot eliminate mosquito annoyance entirely. A sound adulticiding program will utilize information from strategically placed light survey traps and biting count stations to determine when an adulticiding treatment is necessary. Let's take a quick look at the West Nile virus. West Nile virus is carried by mosquitoes and can cause a disease called encephalitis or swelling of the brain. People over 50 are most commonly affected. Common symptoms are slight fever and headache. You should use DEET to avoid this virus. The current photo we are looking at is the black fly adult, the black fly larva, the black fly cocoon, and the black fly pupa. There are two species of black flies in Maine. The type biting fly species in Maine are Prosimolium mixture and Simomolium viustum. Prosimolium is a spring black fly. Similium jenningsi is a late season species and is most annoying along rivers in northern Maine in August and September. On an overview of black flies, approximately 40 species of black flies are known to occur in Maine. Of these, only 4 or 5 are considered to be biters or annoying. Only females bite, and fortunately most species feed on birds and other animals. Let's look at the habitats and life cycles of black flies. Black flies breed exclusively in running water. Some species live in large, fast-flowing streams. Others live in small, sluggish rivulets. Large black fly population indicate clean, healthy streams, and it is not surprising since most species are not tolerant of organic pollution. Let's look at black fly habitat and life cycles. Eggs are laid by females on vegetation in streams or scattered over the water surface. These eggs hatch in water, and larvae attach to rocks, leaves, grass, and other submerged objects. The larvae filter particles out of the water column and grow rapidly in warm waters. Mature larvae pupate underwater, and after adult emergence, the adult rides a bubble of air to the surface and flies away. Adults mate near the breeding site. Following a blood meal, lay eggs are deposited in a suitable stream habitat. Let's take a look at black fly life cycles. In Maine, 2 black fly life cycles exist. In one, the overwintering stage is the egg. Those eggs remain submerged in stream over the winter and hatch in the spring when temperatures reach 40 to 50 degrees. The second type of life cycle has the larvae as the overwintering stage. Larvae hatch in the fall when streams are falling, the temperatures in the streams. Larvae grow slowly through the winter months. Pupation occurs in the early spring when water temperatures reach 37 to 38 degrees. Adults emerge from late April through May. Eggs are deposited in May and June and remain in the water into the fall when they hatch. Biting black fly species breed more in ponds and lakes due to food supply. When dealing with black fly control, the advent of Bacillus thuringiensis has allowed the first time in history the management of black fly populations without serious impact in streams where they live as larvae. BTI is highly effective in eliminating black fly larvae that produce pestiferous adult populations. Effective control of pest black fly population, however, requires area-wide control and coordination and survey control efforts. Black fly adults are strong flyers and may disperse 10 to 20 miles from breeding sites. Black fly control. Control of black flies in the adult stage is usually not practical. Fogging with an adulticide may provide temporary relief, but since they are good flyers, this will be very temporary. Chemical repellents, the same repellents used for mosquitoes, will work, but unfortunately they definitely don't last as long. One idea is the avoidance of black flies. Keep shirt sleeves tucked into trousers. Light colors, such as orange, yellow, and light blue, are less attractive. Black flies are only active during the day. Activity peaks at 9 to 11 in the morning and from 4 to 7 in the evening. They tend to be most active in humid, cloudy days just before storms. Early morning, midday, and late evenings are the best time to work outside. Let's take a brief look at biting gnats, which are sometimes called punkies or no-see-ums. Some people consider these biting flies worse than mosquitoes or black flies because they fly through screens at night. They usually attack at dusk, and people tend to be driven indoors by the number and intensity of their bites. Looking further into biting gnats, punkies breed in most moist soil, usually along the margins of ponds, woodland pools, ditches, or in swampy areas, whether the soil is wet and is high in organic matter. Adults begin emerging in late May in the south. Control can be achieved by fogging of yard areas with suitable adulticides such as malathion since they are not strong flyers. Avoid them by staying inside at dusk and dark.